Hey guys, Robert here, and getting back to some of the crowdfunding comics. This one I put out for quite a while. Monster M.D. by Von Klaus and Marco Maccagni. And this, first of all, look at the thickness of this. This is what a lot of the crowdfunding books should be going for. A lot of pages and a lot of story. As we focus on Dr. Wyatt Black, basically a guy who has become like a doctor for the monsters. He has a zombie, like an undead hand that he uses a lot of times to block off when he gets bitten. And yeah, he was a werewolf at first, and we're introduced to my favorite character in this whole book, Heidi, his assistant. And yes, she is hot. Why do you ask? And I just love the artwork on here. Like, we see her lungs when she smokes and everything. Of course, though, Wyatt is an asshole. He is a jackass. I get they were going for a house vibe, and eventually he comes around by the end. But at first, he's basically at a point where he feels like, I'm fed up with this. I'm done. Of course, Heidi feels like, no, we can't stop. They even deal with a golem at one point and defeat him with a huge amount of, well, shit, literally. And then it turns out they rescue this zombie named Horace, and they rescue him. And yeah, and it turns out the person that deals with it is this weird, mysterious guy that turned out to be from Wyatt's past. And he explains it to Heidi, how he found this one girl, patched her up. He had to deal with this jackass of a doctor, Professor Hawthorne, who, yeah, says he's great at cutting and everything. And he goes to check in on the girl, and it turns out she's still alive. She's a revenant, which basically means she's a ghost, an undead who will continue living on until she's done what she needs to do. And up until then, she helped him out as his first assistant. Until then, they are attacked by this weird, mysterious, grinning guy who chops off Wyatt's hand and tosses him, and they struggle a bit until the guy, and Wyatt gets tossed out, and Ingrid, that's the girl, she dies so he can use her arm to put on top of him, which is what he's been using ever since. And then we get what I feel is a bit overly long of a montage of him going through a bunch of patients, like a monster giving birth, a Slender Man, just so many of these. They just go through so many until eventually he deals with this one woman who is a succubus. But one of those succubus is very much, well, like a cesspool, basically, old teeth. But he's able to deal with her by, well, zapping her dead. But for him, that was the final straw, especially when he calls Heidi a monster. So Heidi decides, there's another call out there. He doesn't want to go. Heidi decides to go instead. And he decides to go after her, as Heidi finds this little girl named Annie, who's also another revenant. And it turns out the grinning guy is there as he has him apprehended. Basically, he's ready to say, hey, what? And he tries to make a deal. And at first, Wyatt's like, take the girl, just leave Heidi. But then he's ready to kill Heidi. And it turns out, though, Wyatt's hand has been bitten by so many other creatures that it has developed other stuff like a werewolf, or herpes, as it's called. Like herpes, get it? Furry herpes. And it's a big fight and everything. And it turns out also this was his old professor. Hold on. Hawthorne, we never get an explanation to why he's like this. Now, Heidi helps out, but she gets struck down. And again, the artwork on this is so incredibly good. This is the highlight to everything. The artwork. It's just so incredibly good. And it's a great fight and everything. And Hawthorne's able to control a bunch of zombies that come out and grab him and everything. But turns out though, some of the other things that have taken over, like he actually chops off the arm again, but it's alive because of, well, the succubus. Gets back onto Wyatt, and then utilizes the golem ability as Hawthorne's like, that should be mine. Yeah, but he said that power should be mine. Big fight happens, and Wyatt eventually knocks out and says, on. They were talking about the zombie, and he's like, his name is Horace. Sends Hawthorne flying until he gets impaled. He then taunts him saying, hey, I can get you make you a doctor again. And he really says, I'm already a damn doctor. And as he decapitates Hawthorne. Then runs in to get Heidi in there, sprays her with something, and uses a ultraviolet so he can see her. And damn, she is sexy. He's starting to patch her up, and then he's starting to fall over from the blood loss. Heidi gets up, is up, she's safe. The two hug and start to make out, complete with tongue. Gross. Until then, he passes out from the blood loss. Some time passes until he wakes up, and it turns out all the monsters he had helped are there to help him. Even this jackass of a vampire, and everything. Right? Everyone, praying mantis monster and all that. Annie, the revenant, runs over, thanks him, and it turns out she goes off to her great reward. Heidi then reveals she got herself some lips, so now he can't miss if they kiss. They go and meet up with Horace, the zombie, to say, you're fine now. And, oh boy, we start to get some party stuff as Heidi takes off her top, and it turns out Hawthorne may come back as he's still alive. Yep, and a big farewell, but that's not the end. We have another story that's, well, Heidi's origin. Turns out the same creative team and everything, and it turns out Heidi was a nun. One nun that smoked and everything, trying to, like slowly just breaking the habits and all that. And again, a sexy nun and all that. But it turns out the priest there was very much one of those, always going into temptation. He would, oh boy, the whole time that would whip himself, but this time with this type with spikes. But she fell in love with this scientist, and yeah, they were basically making out until eventually the priest caught wind of it and basically said, experimenting with dead tissue without telling your superiors, undisclosed radiation chamber. This is always the way of the so-called scientists, just madman in lab coats. And basically, when she said, like, I'll let you out, but you promise that you'll never see this monster again, he's more man than you'll ever be. So they leave him in there as the machine goes on, and it turns out that's what makes the two invisible. As they've been studying him, and then they start to terrorize him, scare him, until Edwin, that's the guy, kills the man. And then it points out, of course, much like an invisible man, invisibility can make you crazy, but eventually Edwin dies from something. But she eventually meets up with Hyatt and Wyatt, and well, that's how they've been going ever since. Again, I love Heidi. She is my favorite, what makes it a standout. Again, I get why it's supposed to be much like House, and I think they kind of tread that line pretty well. Then there's also the crossover. The Shinobi Sasquatch versus Monster Hunt and Monster M.D. And same creative team as Monster M.D., but no colors this time. Not a bad thing. It's a good crossover, but again, I'm in it for Heidi the whole time, and she looks pretty good in that striped outfit and everything. But yeah, this is of course where it's showing how he's weaponized his hand and everything. Bit of a fight going on, and then yeah, eventually, they fight, they team up and everything, and at the end, things are going pretty well. And yeah. Oh, one other thing I forgot to bring up was there was a great pinup artwork of Heidi here. Like we see all the step-by-step process and bam! So, what did I think? I like this. It's really good. I mean, a lot of stuff feels like it's padding, but again, it still felt like it was a worthy read. A very good bang for my buck. You have this sickness along with this bonus story. The characterization, especially Heidi, was amazing. The story was pretty good. There's a lot of stuff that they kind of speed on through and don't answer. That I have issue with. Like, what's up with Hawthorne? I want to know, but overall, though, it is really good, and I do not regret backing this. I don't regret backing any of the books. So, yeah, that's Monster M.D. Got a few others to go over, but until then, I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.